Normally I don't do this because I don't really have the sense of reviews. I don't really know how to review a lot of things. I just say my opinion in an articulated way and hope that people agree with it in a way that they could go, yeah, that makes sense. However, what I've just finished reading ultimately changes my opinion on anything that I've ever read. This is by far one of the best graphic novel series I have ever read, and has ultimately now became my favourite graphic novel series ever. In a world that's dominated by DC and Marvel in terms of cinematic and comic responses, we can't really find anything new or original there. You know, it's the basic structure. Good guy fights bad guy, saves the day, wins the girl, saves the world. And that's all important for, and that's good for, you know, the world of comics, and they can be fun and they can have that element. But for people that want something more from their graphic novels or the comics, something that they can really sink their teeth into and get involved in, you really want something that's good to read, and you really want something that's hard-hitting and deep and, you know, funny and real and straight to the point and stuff like that. Which is why I can safely say that Transmetropolitan delivers on all of that and more. And I loved every single minute of it. Now, I used to work at a pub called The Blind Poet, and my manager at the time, and somebody I used to work with at the bar, kept recommending to me that I should read Transmetropolitan. And I worked at The Blind Poet for about a year and a half, and when I stopped working there, they were still recommending it to me. So 5 years after being at The Poet, I finally sat down to read Transmetropolitan, and ultimately, I wasn't disappointed. After the first few pages, I was laughing out loud in the pub while I was reading it, and after reading all of the books, I went from laughing to the point of hysterics to genuinely being invested in the story of a really deep and satirical but political, edgy book. And it's great. It's unlike any comic that I've came across that does that. Sure, comics may reference things in the times, like when X-Men had the first gay married couple on the front cover of the thing, but this is so relevant to today's time and any other time of now that it's actually incredible that it's really aging well, and it's still got that charm and charisma of when it was first written. So if you don't know what the book's about, I'll give you a basic synopsis of it. There is a journalist called Spider Jerusalem, love that name, who is essentially Hunter S. Thompson in the future. And he's invited back to write for the column that he used to write for, because they're going through a big political turmoil and stuff like this. And he's the perfect man for the job. Why? Because he's tough. He always tells the truth, and he doesn't care who he has to go through to get to the truth. He just keeps going. He asks questions that nobody wants to ask. He gets answers out of people. He's abrasive. He's in your face. But most of all, he's doing this because it's what he knows he has to do. As much as he claims that he hates people and he hates the area that he lives in, he'll still defend it in whatever way he can, because he knows that people can be better than this, and he knows that people deserve to have better than what they're getting now. Ultimately, after reading Transmetropolitan, you leave with this feeling of, okay, don't go looking for the good or the bad guy in politics. Go looking for the truth. The last author that I know that ever tried to get that message across was Hunter S. Thompson. And that just sums up, you know, the power that this book has. It still makes you think like that. And yes, it's funny, and it's a hilarious book. Like, some of the satire in this book is great. Like the technology-free zones and the blatant advertisement walking around the screens of everywhere. And it scares you because it's so relevant to now. And it's so real to how now is, that you do kind of have to go, maybe this book's got something. Oh, I absolutely loved Transmetropolitan. I'm kind of sad that I've stopped reading it, but it's got staying power, and I know that I'll definitely reread it over time. Particularly because there's things in there that I even might reference on my own show, because the humour is just that good. But it's just so good in what it does. Warren Ellis wrote, ultimately, the closest thing to a modern day or a futuristic Fear and Loathing for an audience that may not be Hunter S. Thompson fans. Like myself, I'm a big Hunter S. Thompson fan. But even if you're not a fan, you can still appreciate the attitude and the character and the responsibilities that he has, and the points that he brings up, because they're all honest and they're all true. And whether it's in a comic book reality or in a reality now where we've got Trump and Bernie in President White House and stuff like that, and you know, we're trying to go, yeah, but Trump's an idiot, but be careful about Bernie. This book ultimately opens your eyes to, you know, what we should be looking at, and it's great. And it's ultimately now my favourite graphic novel series ever, and I absolutely love it. go buy it. I'll put the Amazon link down below. You have to buy it, read it. Transmetropolitan, the greatest graphic novel series I've ever read.